Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's the episode 70 of TALATOKS. Today is June 7, 2023, and we are going to discuss the Philippines and its bicentennial economic problem. This is going to be a very important maybe episode. We want to shed light on the economy, economic cycles, no? And we will try to make comments also on the Maharlika Fund, no, with respect to the astrological cycles. This is the astrological community's contribution dito sa issue na to, no, of national concern.
What is it po? Like, does anybody know about this fund?
What I heard about it is that it involves investing Philippine funds, parang ganun. Philippine funds to somewhere. Pero ang tanong is, saan manggagaling yung funds at saan ilalagay? At gaano ka-safe ba yung investment na yun? And are we sure that it's going to be brought? Is it going to earn for the investors? And at the same time, what are the safeguards of that fund kung kunyari hindi siya maging profitable? Is there a possibility na hindi siya maging maganda ang profit? Yon, what happens then if that happens?
So, tapos na siya. Tapos na yung deliberation. It was actually labeled, no, as an urgent bill, no. So yan, naipasa na. Tapos na sa Senate, no, and apparently nga it will also be adopted, no, by the lower house. So ang kulang na lang yung signature, no, ng ating presidente.
What time signature are you using to analyze this Maharlika Investment Fund?
There are many ways, no, to look into it, no. Number one, the main one that we have to check is the actual signing, no, of the bill wherein it becomes a law, no. So we have to take note, no, eventually kung kailan niya mapipirmahan. Pero we are also looking at it, no, from a broad perspective, no, na for example, no, if you will be using the transits, no, transiting aspects, no, for example of Neptune, no, nasaan ba yung Neptune recently, no? So actually nga, one method using the transits, no, with respect to the July 4 chart of the Philippines, no, we can see maybe some patterns, no. We can give some guidelines, no, good or bad, no. For example, Neptune, we've been talking about Neptune in the past 2 years maybe, you know. So Neptune is very much prominent, no, in our lives these days, no. Neptune, kasama dyan yung something unclear, kasama dyan yung nostalgia, kasama dyan yung misinformation, disinformation. In financial astrology, Neptune is also connected with the inflation, no? Neptune is also associated with dissolution of value. The ascendant sign of the Philippines is actually Virgo, no? So yeah, that's my point, no? All of these are happening when Neptune is still, no, very much, no, in the sign Pisces, no, which is the opposite sign of Virgo, no. So nandoon tayo sa stage, you know, in our history na kailangan ng cautiousness.
Sir, can you tell us a little bit about mundane astrology in case we have new listeners who might not be familiar with mundane astrology?
So basically, And we say mundane astrology is the astrology of nations, no? So in contrast, no, let's say we usually talk about the astrology of individual kind of career, you know, he or she, no, should, no, undertake, no, and what will transpire. Mundane astrology is actually I think the oldest kind of astrology. Mundane astrology was practiced in Egypt, in Mesopotamia. You look back at history, you can see astrologers, no, making predictions about the weather, about the price of commodities, no? Is it going to be economically successful or not? We use the methods of mundane astrology.
I think since we're looking at the Vicennial cycles, diba, of
Ano na yung Vicennial?
Oo nga pala. So it's in our title, Vicennial. I also learned that Vicennial means every 20 years. So like every 20 years, we're gonna look at parang the cycles of what's happening in the Philippines kasi every 20 years, there is a conjunction, the great conjunction of which one? Jupiter and Saturn.
Why great? No, because these are the two big, no, or great planets. No, when they are together, it signals a change, no, in the life, no, of a country in general. This conjunction, the great conjunctions, no, they affect, no, the economic cycles, no, the trends in history, new developments, no, in a country. No, kaya as we will see later, no, every 20 years, no, dito sa Pilipinas, madaming nangyayari, and somehow they initiated, no, a new trend, no, in our history. This is just one of the techniques, no? Although the primary technique, no, when talking about cycles, no? This charts can have an effect for 20 years. No? Although since parang new moon yan, no? Merong, during the new moon, something, the seed, no, of the future, no, will be sown, no, during that period, and then it will grow. So parang merong half cycle na 10 years, no? So tapos another 10 years, so total of 20. No? So yung trend, no, of the future was parang seeded, no, during the around, no, the time of the, or even the year, no, of the Great Conjunction. Meron 200-year cycle. No? So lahat ng conjunctions from 1800 until 2000, no, except in 1980, they all belong to the same element. No? Kaya we see patterns, no? Kasi may theme, no, bawat conjunction, no? And these conjunctions na para lumilipat lang from one sign to another of the same element, no, within a 200-year cycle, no, within a 200-year period. So when the shift is from one element to another, it is called a mutation. No? So there will be many changes. So yung conjunction of 1901 was in the sign Capricorn. Okay. It took place on November 1901. No? Okay. So what happened was, no, that was the year, no, that Emilio Aguinaldo was captured. No? Aguinaldo was captured by the Americans in March 23, no? 1901. No? Okay, so basically it meant, no, the death of the First Philippine Republic. No? That was the culmination of the struggle of the revolutionaries, Katipuneros, no? From the 1890s until 1898, no? Nung nag-declare ng independence, no, ang mga Filipinos. And then we consider nga kasi na itong Saturn and Jupiter conjunction as something powerful, no? Specifically Saturn, no? Because it's the strongest planet, no? And then when it is in Capricorn, it's really very strong, no? Okay. And in this case, no, the conjunction fell on the fourth house, no? Fourth house is our lands, no? So parang another colonizer came into our lands, no? And with Mars there, Mars is Mars and Saturn are destructive forces, no? So from then, no, there was a war, no? Actually the war, no, started in 1899, no, hanggang 1905 yan, kasi may protracted war, may guerrilla warfare, no? Yung mga, although Aguinaldo swore allegiance to the United States in May, around April, no, 1901, the other generals, no, still continued the fight, no? Si Macayo Sakay, si Malbar, no, Miguel Malbar, no, and many others, no. So madaming fighting, no, and devastation, no. Okay. So ang keyword natin dito was may economic devastation, no. So number one, Americans took over, no. So parang the resources ng Pilipinas, no, business opportunities kinuha nila, no. Of course, meron ding some form of martial law, no, brigandage law, at meron pang isang law that was passed in 1901, around the beginning of the American rule, no. Okay. So the first thing that I've noticed, no, when I studied these cycles is that during the first 3 to 4 years, no, of the conjunction, merong economic devastation, no? Although dito sa chart din na to, no, may makikita tayong positive, no? Saturn is very strong, which is about rebuilding, no? And Mars is also about construction. So on the positive side, no, well, kahit, no, it's already part of our history na eventually during the 20-year cycle, may economic growth din, no? Pero ang keyword din we have to take note of is sino ba yung nakinabang, no? Definitely most of them were Americans, no? So mga Pilipinos naghihirap, no? Okay, no? Dito sa chart na to, the first house, no, would be about the people, no. Okay, so Mercury here is not really doing well, no, being in the third house, no. At yeah, and very strong itong may keyword kasi, no, parang sa writings ng mga heroes natin meron tinatawag na parang the powerful enemy, no?
I see also, sir, that we have the moon in Cancer domicile. And opposing pala the conjunction, so there seems to be talaga parang an oppositional factor there.
So the moon in mundane astrology is the co-ruler of the people, no? So may struggle talaga, no? Okay, or opposition, no? And yeah, kaya somehow definitely na overpower tayo, no, pero still, no, hindi nag-surrender yung mga leaders natin at the time, no, na to continue the fight, no. Okay, in 1921 there was another conjunction, and the conjunction was in Virgo, no. Okay, no. Okay, no, so yun nga, eventually ang fight, no, was in the field of law, no, dahil we wanted to gain independence through this, no. Mga lawyers, no, specifically sila Manuel si Sergio Esmeña tsaka si Manuel L. Quezon, no, mga lawyers, orators, no, so they fought for Philippine independence through words, no, in the field of law, no. So they talked to politicians, no, they went to the US, no, to negotiate, no, a law, no, allowing the independence of the Philippines, no. Okay, so this but then in 1921 there was another conjunction. Ang keyword natin is when there's conjunction, there is something powerful, no, a powerful force, no, that will change the course of history. So in this case, nagkaroon ng palitan ng Governor General, no. So from I think si Taft ata yung mabait, no, pero in 1921 there was another, or 1920 or 1921 there was another Governor General who was opposed to the idea of granting independence, no. So kaya madaming crisis, no, noong 1921, ano, nagkaroon ng cabinet crisis dahil napansin nga nila they feel, no, that they were powerless, no, with this new Governor General, no. Kaya one by one, ano, parang nahirapan sila, no. Okay, and then of course there was also economic problem or financial problem, no? One of the clues that I got, no, was that in September 1921, the PNB, no, Philippine National Bank, went bankrupt, no? Okay, so that's the reason was that hindi rin nakakabayad, no, yung mga pinautang, no? So it's number one because of inflation, no? So there was much inflation at the time. Bankruptcy of a bank, no, the PNB, no. PNB at the time was the equivalent of the Bangko Sentral, no, or even Land Bank, no, of these days, no. Okay, so ito yung makita nating similarities pattern, ano. So nung panahon na yon may bankruptcy, no. So ngayon, although we're not saying na mababankrupt, no, definitely hindi naman mababankrupt ang Bangko Sentral, no, for example, no. Pero yung element ng lugi or talo, no, is there, no. Okay, although wala pang National Bank, no, noong 1901, no. Pero ang nangyari, ito naman according to Agoncillo. So from 1901 to 1920s, no, parang di ba very prominent ang Baguio at the time, no. Yung development ng Baguio, Burnham, no, etc., no. The capital, no, parang capital ng Baguio, merong mansion doon, di ba. Okay, so there was, pero around Baguio madami mga mining, no. So all of this they mined, no, and according to Agoncillo, I don't have the figures, I'm trying to check nga, ano, according to Agoncillo, tons and tons, no, of gold were shipped, no, from the Philippines, no, during that time, no. And as early as 1901, madami ng mga business people, no, from the US, specifically din, no, sa mining, were very much interested, no, in entering, no, the Philippines. So ang mga kumita or nakinabang nga, no, nung panahon na yon were the foreigners or the Americans, to be more specific, no. Okay, no, so yung 1921, yun nga, no, I think, no, ang pwede nating to take note yung bankruptcy ng PNB, no, which can be equivalent to some form of loss. We're just doing some projections, no, although we're not saying that this is of certainty, no. Okay, so looking back lang in history, we should be warned na the possibility of some form of loss, no, is there, no. So parang although we're not 100% saying that will happen, pero yung cautiousness, di ba, parang this, as we later on we will see, no, this is a pattern, no, that has been repeated, no, continuously every 20 years, no, for the past more than 100 years, no? Okay, sige, so yan, economic devastation ng first conjunction 1901 onwards. And then nakinabang yung mga foreigners. Itong second conjunction, yun, bank problem, no. Okay. Related, money and economy. Sige, no. So mag-jump muna tayo sa panahon ng Hapon, no. Okay.
1940. Tama ba, sir?
1940, no. Although the conjunction took place in 1940, tapos Japan, no, invaded the Philippines in December, no, 8, no, 1941, no. Okay, so of course the effect, no, it was a war, no, the effect was devastation again, no, of the Philippines, no, specifically yung Manila, no. Manila was heavily affected, no, by that, no. So may tinatawag na rape of Manila, no, wherein Manila was declared open city, tinira ng Japan, ano, ang Pilipinas, no, Manila at the time. So buildings, structures, no, the economy, no, was in ruins, no, because of that. So again, no, 20 years, no. Number one, 1901, coming from another war, yeah, the Philippines was devastated economically. In 1921, inflation, no, failure of banks. No? Okay, same things or similar, no, in 1941, no, economic devastation. So ito medyo mas matindi to, parang lahat ng negative na yan. May martial law, economic devastation, no, even there was even failure nga of the banks kasi nag-issue ang Japanese Japanese government, no, ng paper money, no, yung tinatawag na Mickey Mouse, no, so which is a fiat currency, no, na wala namang value, no. So may financial problem, no, at that time. This is the chart of the conjunction in 1961, no. In 1921, the conjunction took place in the 10th house, no. 10th house is about leadership, no. In 1901 about land, no. Okay, sige. Itong 1961 is also about leadership, no, kasi the conjunction fell in the 10th house, no, of business, Capricorn, no? 10th house leadership, no. Okay, so again, ang na-notice ko dito is in 1962 or 63 there was a devaluation of the peso, no? Okay, so after the 1960s, no, yung 1980s, no, 1981 was the isa conjunction at ang turing nga natin is 3 to 4 years na after the conjunction, there is economic problem, no. Okay, so in 1983, Ninoy Aquino was assassinated, no, and that brought the economy down, no. I think 7.4%, yung bagsak, and also the peso, no, dropped, no, drastically, no, until 1985, you know. So there was economic devastation as well, no. And then may shift nga, no, ng energies, no, or policies, no. The conjunction in 1981, okay, was in Libra. In 2000 it was in Taurus. 2000, no, ito yung panahon ni Erap, no. So there was an impeachment, no, after that, no. Again, no, pag may impeachment, no, medyo it was a prolonged one, so bumagsak din yung piso at nagkaroon din ng economic uncertainty at that time. The last one, as I mentioned, is in December 22, 2020. No? So ito yung kasama na din yung pandemic, no, and maybe mismanagement, no, of the previous government because bumagsak. No? Actually, bago pa mag-pandemic, medyo nasa downward trend na yung ating economic standing at that time. No? Okay, sige. Gerald, ano yung tanong mo?
Well, you were saying before na every 20 years nga nagko-conjunct ang Saturn at saka ang Jupiter, and the effect on the Philippines in different aspects hindi maganda, and it happens usually mga 2-3 years after the conjunction. Yung last conjunction natin was Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in Aquarius, tama ba?
Yes, tama.
And it seems to me Aquarius has something to do with the will of the people, and it also has something to do with yung electronics. Bigla pumasok sa utak ko, hindi kaya one of the disasters that happened was the supposedly, sorry I'm going to be controversial. It's okay. Supposedly elections.
So there's Aquarian nga, no, she would say.
There's an international, actually marami na rin from international na nagsasabi na it's a failure of elections. Isn't that also a part of Jupiter-Saturn conjunction na hindi magandang aspect?
Okay, if you are going to look back at several of these conjunctions, no, the American period, no, we were directly, no, colonized, no, in 1901, you know. The USA established, no, itong civil, I think military government at the time in 1901. Okay, and then in 1921, no, so the new governor general imposed, no, its will, no, on us, and then parang shut down, no, itong movement towards independence, no. So nung Japanese time, again, an invader, colonizer imposed its will on us, no. Okay. Okay, so nag-iba na ng konti, no, nung 1960s na conjunction, no, pero somehow, no, a local, no, a Filipino, no, or Filipinos in general, no, parang impose its personal or family will on us, no. Okay, no. So if we are going to view, no, I don't know, no, syempre hindi pa natin alam yung actual detalye nitong possible computerized manipulation. I don't know if we can say it as such, no, pero according to the TNT trio, most likely nga, no, merong manipulation daw, no. Even before, parang doon mismo, no, sa program, no, or sa code, no, merong manipulation daw, no, but then that's their position, no. If you will going to connect all of this, no, we can say that it's another way of a group of people trying to subvert, no, the process, no, of election and imposing their will on us. So yun, so as to summarize the astrology of this, no, so every 20 years merong economic problem, no. Piso bumababa, may inflation, no, may some destabilizing energy, no, in the air, no. Ang defense lang ng iba is for example 1900, 1921, 1941, foreigners, no, yung may dala ng problem. Okay, external, no, pero itong after 1946, no, so lahat na to are within the hands, no, of Filipinos. Tingnan lang natin daw yung chart ng Maharlika, although we don't have the exact time, no, pero siguro we can check at the outer planets or the slower moving planets, no.
Okay, let's look at this chart.
All right. So, for clarity's sake, we have no houses because we don't really know the time of the chart. And then we have Venus in Cancer, and I think an approaching square depending on what time this really is, because the moon is in Libra and Mars is in Leo, the sun is in Gemini, and Mercury is in Taurus. And of course, Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter has already entered Taurus at this time as well.
Wow.
And yun, it's only at, I think, around 3 degrees Jupiter. And so there's a slight square here to Pluto, who is in Aquarius at 0 degrees retrograde. Yun.
Oh, wow.
I
What
think
can
the
you say?
Pluto square Jupiter, no? The Pluto square Jupiter is the most important thing here, no?
Mhm.
With Jupiter, no, there's always some moral issues, no? With Pluto, there's always something hidden, no? So if you combine these two planets together, Pluto can also mean big amount of money, no? So there can
And
be
the
some
people's
issues.
money.
There can be some issues regarding the utilization, no? Taurus has something with the practical use, no? Or utilization of this, no? So it's a red flag, no? Especially when it comes to big amounts of money.
Jupiter is also slightly square Mars, so there's a T square in effect.
Yeah, yes.
Yun lang po.
So Mars is something destructive, no? In a sense, no? If Jupiter in Taurus means expansion, Mars will take it away, you know, somehow, no? So there's also some danger, no, because of this Mars configuration.
Sisingit ko lang sociology, naisip ko, sa sociological economics, may mga perspective na ginagamit. Siyempre, una, functionalist, yung dalawang school of thought na gagamitin natin. Ano yung function ng, halimbawa, Maharlika Fund o ng mga pangungutang o ng mga policy? Ano function nun? Unang pagtingin ng establishment, siyempre, to boost economy, support yung ating mga kababayan, no? May mechanism para mangutang ang mga business sector, may facility to fund public and private infrastructures, no? Function yun. So, function ng gobyerno, magsabatas, magawa ng allegedly ng economic investment environment, no, na favorable sa lahat. So function yun. And then people work according to the function set by the state. Ganun din yung educational system that will address work environment so that it can create engine for the economy. Ang conflict theory naman, kung nakatandaan natin sa kolehiyo, tinatanong dito from Max Weber to Karl Marx to several conflict theorists, para kanino ba yun yung policy, no? Sino ang nagko-control ng resources? Sino nagde-decide? At sa pag-decide na to, sino yung nakikinabang? So tingnan natin yung 1900, sino yung nakikinabang? Siyempre, tandaan natin ang may access sa education yung mga may pag-aari lamang at yung mga lalaki lamang, no? So sila yung pinag-aral, sila yung binigyan ng kapangyarihan, at ito yung mayayamang Pilipino, no? At yung mga apelyido niyan hanggang ngayon na buhay, no? Pag-aralan natin yung mga pag-aaral ng mga dynasties mula 1900 hanggang ngayon, buhay na buhay yun, no? Sabi natin noon yung royalties. Lastly, may binabanggit yung isang sociologist noon, si Wright Mills, no, yung sociological imagination. Sa lahat ng mga crisis na to, ng economics hanggang sa mga patakaran ng pamahalaan, no, kailangan malocate daw, sabi ng isang theory na to, kailangan malocate ng mga ordinaryong tao ng kanilang mga buhay ay nililika, iniimpluwensyahan ng mas malawak na pangyayari sa lipunan. No? Siyempre, di naman lahat na, halimbawa, paglalaba mo, i-connect mo sa problema ng lipunan, di naman ganun. But we are shaped by our set ng ating time, no? Lahat tayo inuubog ng ating panahon. So, maganda, no, maintindihan ng mga kababayan natin bakit naghihiwalay mga pamilya, bakit hirap ang pagtatrabaho, maliit ang sahod, bakit ang kapangyarihan ay nasa ilang kamay lang, no? Kailangan nilang malocate na bahagi pala yon ng kasaysayan ng paghuhubog ng lipunan.
Ang gusto nga natin masagot, no, dito sa episode na to is ano ba yung warning, no, that we can see from the previous great conjunctions, no? At anong makukonect natin or anong warning ang ibibigay natin sa atin, ano, sa Pilipino, at ano ba yung dapat natin gawin, no, na with respect to this possibility nga, no, na itong Maharlika Fund, no, has the same at least in terms of timing, same possibility of making the lives of Filipinos maybe worse, no. But we also discussed earlier, no, in tanong din ni Ataya kanina, is with regards to Neptune, the timing is also indicative of some form of pagi, no, because that's what Neptune does, no, in the chart, no. We are now under the influence of Neptune actually for the past few years, no. Okay, so Neptune is cloudiness, no, something na nawawala or dissipating, no, dissolution. Okay, so if you will connect that with these promises regarding the advantages, no, of the Maharlika Fund, yan, may Neptune yan pag.
Since there's already a history of conjunction and people, colonizers imposing their will on us, ano ba talaga to? Parang fate na lang ba talaga to? Is there a chance na talagang matanggal natin to, ma-overcome natin to? I mean, we are trying to warn people right now about yung traps of the Maharlika Investment Fund. But can we really change it? It's already in the planets. Astrological na, nandyan na yung sign. So what can be done?
So kung we are looking at the conjunctions, no, we are giving a warning, no? Kasi what we have seen in the past 120 years is that the conjunction brings about some form of economic loss. So parang forecast yan yung astrological forecast. So kung alam natin na uulan, we have to change our schedule. Kailangan natin dagdagan yung ating panglaban sa ulan. Magdala ka ng payong, magdala ng boots ka ng boots, something like that. Pero yun nga, kung hindi natin bubuksan yung isip, hindi tayo makikialam, yung pattern will be the same. So yung ihip ng hangin, actually sa tao lang nagaling yun. So we can somehow influence the decision making process. Basta wag lang natin i-give up yung right natin to state our views regarding very important matters such as these funds. Kasi ito yung mental processing Parang the more Filipinos do that, the more na mababago yung ating collective destiny.
Tama.
We have little say siguro. Pero yeah, we should not give up on that.
So that's right. Look to the conjunctions and also know that we have our rights and we have the right to express our opinions still, to maybe sway the public to at least consider what the fund is for. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you again Wednesday next week.